The Land of Dolls. I don't think any of you children would have hesitated for a moment to follow the honest, good-natured Nutcracker who never had a wicked thought in all his life. And Marie was all the more inclined to go with him as she knew what a debt of gratitude he owed her and was sure that he would keep his word and show her all manner of splendid things. So she said, "I'll go with you, Mr. Drosselmeyer, but don't let it be too far or take too long because I haven't had enough sleep yet." "In that case," Nutcracker replied, "I'll take the shortest route, though it's rather a hard one." He went ahead and Marie followed. He finally stopped outside the big clothes cupboard in the entrance hall. To Marie's surprise, the door of the cupboard was wide open, and she could see her father's fox fur traveling coat, which was hanging at the front of the cupboard. Nutcracker climbed nimbly, hanging onto the loops and trimmings until he was able to get hold of the big tassel that was fastened by a heavy cord to the back of the coat. When he pulled the tassel, a little cedar wood ladder came down through the sleeve. "Now, Mistress Stallbaum," said Nutcracker, "if you'd just climb that ladder." Marie climbed and soon passed through the sleeve. When she looked out through the neck hole, a bright light met her eyes, and she found herself in a fragrant meadow, dotted with millions of gem-like sparks. "This is Candy Meadow," said Nutcracker, "but in a moment we'll pass through that arch." Looking up, Marie saw the beautiful arch, which was only a few steps away. It appeared to be made of white, brown, and raisin-colored marble. But when she went closer, she saw that it was actually made of baked almonds and raisins, for which reason, as Nutcracker informed her, it was called Almond and Raisin Arch. The arch was enriched by a gallery that seemed to be made of sugar, and on it 6 little monkeys in red jackets were playing Turkish music. The music was so beautiful that Marie hardly noticed the pavement they were walking on, which looked like mottled marble, but it was really made of artfully molded nougat. Soon she was surrounded by sweet smells given off by the woods on either side of the path. Now, hold on. Is anybody making a connection here? A connection between this and another either text, if you've listened or read it, or movie that you've seen? No? No one? So this book is old, and authors get their ideas from other stories. Has anyone in here ever seen the movie or heard of the story, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Right? Like in that part of the factory where you can eat everything, and like even the things you walk on are candy. Like straight out of this text. Remember that?
Yeah.
But doesn't this sound a lot like that? Where you can eat everything, right? And it's all sweet and candies. Glittering lights in the dark foliage proved to be gold and silver fruits hanging from stems of many different colors. The trunks and branches were decorated with ribbons and bunches of flowers like the members of some joyful wedding party. When the orange-scented zephyrs stirred, the leaves and branches rustled, and the tinsel tinkled and crackled like merry music, to which the sparkling lights hopped and danced. Marie was in 7th heaven. "Oh, it's so wonderful here," she sighed. "This, mistress," said Nutcracker, "is Christmas wood." "Oh," said Marie, "if I could only stay here a while. Oh, it's so lovely." Nutcracker clapped his hands, and several little shepherds and shepherdesses, hunters and huntresses appeared, all so white you'd have thought they were made of pure sugar. They had all been strolling about in the woods, but Marie hadn't noticed them before. Now they brought up a dear little golden chair, put in a white licorice cushion, and ever so graciously bade Marie to be seated. She had no sooner done so than the shepherds and shepherdesses danced a charming ballet, while the hunters played ever so genteelly on their horns. But then, as if at a signal, they all vanished into the woods. "I beg your pardon," said Nutcracker. "I humbly beg your pardon, dear Miss Stahlbaum, that the ballet should have ended so wretchedly. But you see, these performers are all members of our mechanical ballet, so they can only do the same thing over and over again. And if the hunters played so sleepily and feebly, there are reasons for that too. It's true that the candy basket hangs right over their noses on Christmas trees, but a little too high, a little too high. But suppose we go on a little way." "I thought it was all perfectly lovely," said Marie, getting up and following Nutcracker. They skirted a gently whispering brook, which seemed to be the source of all the delightful smells the woods were full of. "This is Orange Brook," said Nutcracker. "It smells good, but it's not nearly as big and beautiful as Lemonade River. They both empty into Almond Milk Lake." And indeed, Marie soon heard a loud gurgling and splashing and saw the broad Lemonade River flowing in a great biscuit-colored waves between banks covered with bushes that glittered like rubies. It gave off a cooling freshness that strengthened heart and lungs. Not far away, a dark yellow stream dragged itself sluggishly along, but the scent it gave off was uncommonly sweet. Beautiful children were sitting on its banks, fishing for plump little fishes, which they ate the moment they caught them. When she came closer, Marie noticed that the fishes looked like hazelnuts. A little way downstream, there was a sweet little village. Houses, church, parsonage, barns, all were dark brown, but roofed with gold, and many of the walls looked as if the mortar had been studded with shelled almonds and candied lemon peel. "That's Gingerbread City," said Nutcracker. "It's on Honey River. The inhabitants are beautiful, but most are dreadfully cranky because they have awful toothaches. So we won't stop there now." "Why would they have toothaches?" Just then, Marie caught sight of a town made up of vari-colored, transparent houses. When they reached it, Marie heard a merry hubbub and saw thousands of lovely little people unloading heavy wagons that were drawn up in the marketplace. What they hauled from the wagons looked like colored paper and chocolate bars. "This is Candy Town," said Nutcracker. "A shipment has just arrived from Paperland, and the King of Chocolate, the poor Candy Towner. A shipment has just arrived from Paperland and the King of Chocolate. The poor Candy Towners have received threatening messages from the Prince of Mosquitoes. So now they're covering their houses with special paper and building fortifications with the finely wrought tablets sent by the King of Chocolate. But my dear Mistress Stahlbaum, we can't visit every small town and village in this country. The capital is the place. On to the capital." Nutcracker hurried ahead, and Marie, bursting with curiosity, followed. Soon the air was filled with the scent of roses, and everything seemed covered with a soft roseate glow, reflected, as Marie could see, from a rose-red stream whose silvery rose waters lapped and gurgled most musically. Gradually, the stream widened and became a lake with silvery white swans floating on it. They wore gold necklaces and vied with one another in singing the prettiest songs, while diamond fish leaped in and out of the rosy waters in a merry dance. Oh, cried Marie in delight. This is the lake Godfather Drosselmeyer was going to make for me. And I'm the little girl who was going to pat the swans. Nutcracker smiled as though she had said something foolish. Uncle could never make a lake, he said. You yourself would be much more likely to. But instead of worrying our heads over that, let's sail across this rosy lake to the capital.